Josh, here we are.
It's great to be here.
We're with OWASP today.
Yeah.
We're in Barcelona. I'm being a little silly. It's been a long few days already. A lot of interviews, a lot of conversations, good community, of course.
Fantastic.
What do you think so far?
I really love these events. I have great fun at these events. I think that it's a really great community of people. It's great to see people I've either met before and get to see again. It's great to see people that I've only ever spoken to over the internet and finally get to see them in person. So yeah, I really enjoy the OWASP events.
Yeah, great group of folks. And big announcement.
Yeah.
So you did some, before we get to that, you did some training last couple of days, a few days. How did that go?
Training went really well. A really great class of people, very engaged, very interested. The course is about application security tools. Everyone's got DAST, SAST, SCA, every sort of acronym under the sun. They don't know what to do with them. They've got loads of findings, and the tool is all about, the course is all about, okay, what do I do with these findings? How do I build this into my organization? How do I actually make that process work? And I've done it for a few years now. It's gets good results, lots of interactivity, people engaging and working on the group exercises. So,
and taking the tools and the models and the frameworks and the documents and the guides and putting them all in action.
Yeah, just saying, okay, how do we make this work in the real world? Never mind, we press the button, a lot of findings come out. Now what?
Exactly. So, all right. So now to the announcement. I think was it Rodrigo mentioned.
I think Ricardo mentioned in the
keynote.
Yes,
Ricardo mentioned in the keynote.
So Ricardo was kind enough to mention in the keynote that, tomorrow morning, my co-leader on the ASVS, the Application Security Project, who's watching us over here, he's going to be releasing the version 5 of the project. So we're super excited about that. It's been arguably 6 years in the making, certainly from the last major version. So we're really excited to get this release out.
That's very good. And we won't make fun of Alar for not being on camera.
He's very shy, but he's going to step up tomorrow. He's going to do the talk, and it's going to be great.
All right. So, for those who may not be familiar with ASVS, maybe a quick overview of what it is and what it's designed to do.
So the ASVS is the Application Security Verification Standard, and the idea is to bring sort of a comprehensive standard to say, look, this is how you build an application in a secure way. These are the positive requirements that help you build an application in a secure way. And the requirements are written in a way that can also be easily verified. Verify this particular security mechanism is in place. Verify that this check is in place. The idea is to bring to developers or to testers and QA a comprehensive tool they can use to assess the security of an application, compare it to other applications, and just generally get a feel for how are we doing from a security perspective.
Okay. So the last version 4 was 6 years ago, you said?
Yeah, version 4.01 I think was 2019, I want to say.
Okay. So what was kind of the journey from the 0 point something to 4? What did that world look like?
So it's a good question. So I can't remember exactly when the first version came out. Like the leaders have changed around over the years. So many years ago they started off with version 1 with a small number of requirements, and gradually sort of each version they gathered more requirements and sort of made it more sort of to try and cover some of the more modern issues and updated challenges that we see in the industry. And finally version 4 was quite a major update, and I got involved around just before the release of version 4 doing some of the review and the QA. I know Ella was also involved in that process as well, sort of as individual contributors, and following the version 4 release, that's when we really got more involved and thinking about, okay, well, what's next now that we've got this major version.
Right. So what are some of the highlights for V5 over V4? What can people expect in that?
So our big focus overall was trying to make it easier to use and make it more accessible. Okay. On the one hand, we want it to be sort of a comprehensive resource. We want it to try and cover as much as possible. We don't want it just to be sort of a top 10 or a fragment of, here are a few things you need to do. We want it to be a comprehensive resource, but that comes with the size. That comes with a lot of requirements, and we wanted to make that easier to approach. We wanted to make it easier for organizations, teams to start using the standard, to get onto the first level of the standard. The standard's organized into 3 levels. Level 1, which is sort of the initial stage you want to get to. Level 2, which is sort of the normal, sort of more standard level of security, and then level 3 for the higher risk applications, the most risky applications, very sensitive medical data, very high value financial transactions. So we want to make it easier to get onto level 1, to comply with level 1 of the standard, and then see, okay, well what's next?
Right.
So back in level 4, I think to get to level 1, you had to already be doing something like 40% of the requirements or something, nearly 50% of the requirements, and we've now got that down to below 30%. It makes it just an easier start. It makes it a lower barrier to entry and help organizations get started and think about, okay, well, how do we move on from there?
Got it. And so you've mentioned developers and QA, clearly two teams that work together to deliver something. Security is part of that as well.
Yes.
How's the guide speak to those constituents, and does it address any other stakeholders like line of business and, I don't know, the delivery teams and the IT folks, and does it cover that breadth, or what does it cover?
One of the other things we've done in version 5 is to try and focus on the application itself.
Okay.
Previous versions have sort of focused on processes to a certain extent and to sort of other activities such as backups, which are sort of less specific to the application itself. Backups would usually be like a different team, sort of different set of considerations. We've tried to focus it on the application itself, and to try and make sure that when we bring it to software architects, we bring it to developers, we bring it to QA there, we bring them requirements, we bring them considerations that are within their purview, or within what they're thinking about. And so we restrict it to the application, but at the same time we want it to be valid all the way through the application lifecycle. So from the original requirement stage, I've done talks in the past about using the ASVS to actually develop secure requirements before you've even started writing any codes, all the way through to using it as a resource for design review, using it for developers to refer to as an implementation guide of, okay, well, when I'm writing this feature, what considerations might I need to put into place? We also make it so that organizations can add their own guidance. We very much encourage organizations to take the ASVS and customize it and extend it for their own organization, their own their own in-house mechanisms, and their own security requirements and security plans they have in place already. So, okay, we'll apply these to the ASVS as well, and you've got everything in this single point.
Now, is it a guide? Because I'm picturing requirements that are a list of things that you would consider when you're building that might go into like a PRD, a product requirements document. Is that what it is, or how does that look from a?
So the requirements tend to be, we try and make them relatively clear, but also not going into endless detail. The idea is it should a requirement, and that's one of the things we've worked on with version 5, is to sort of make the requirements say, what is the security goal here? What is the thing we're trying to achieve? How exactly you're going to implement that? Well, we leave that to other OWASP projects. If you look, for example, at the cheat sheets project, there are some great guides for, okay, here's how you do security controls in Java, here's how you do security controls in .NET. And I think that by linking from ASVS and then using those additional resources for your specific case, therefore, it means we can keep the ASVS at a manageable level of detail, but also provide resources onwards. Okay, well, let's expand on that. Let's provide wider guidance as well.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. Well, I guess let's speak to, so a lot of my audience are security leaders that have decent practitioner base as well. What would you say to, let's speak to security leaders. How can they take what you've done with V5 and bring it into their program? What's some of the first steps they would do?
Yeah, so I think the key thing is to say, look, everyone wants to know how to do application security. Everyone says, okay, well, we've got this problem, how are we going to solve it? I think that the ASVS brings a fantastic sort of standard to say, well, here's what's actually expected in an application. Now, you're not going to take it all at once. You may want to take a slowly approach where maybe you start with level 1, or you start with certain sections where you've got particular concerns. But take those requirements and use them as a basis for your other security activities. So, okay, well, if we want to develop security requirements, here are the ASVS requirements you can use to base those off. If we want to develop a secure coding checklist, then we're maybe going to start with the relevant ASVS requirements. We're going to expand on that to say, well, here's how we're going to do it within this organization. So I think it gives a fantastic blueprint for what the security of an application looks like, what it should look like, what should be in place for the application. Now, it doesn't give you the process around that. The process around that, you probably want a different project like the OWASP SAM project, for example, which talks more about application security processes and what you want security team to be doing, what you want developers to be doing. But the ASVS is there to give you a blueprint for the application itself. So what mechanisms do we want in the application?
Nice. Great clarification. Appreciate that. What else was I going to ask you? So I guess the teams will adopt this. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, the community is a big part of the conference. Does that carry over into an organization taking on the ASVS? Are there people behind it they can actually reach out to? Or obviously at events like this, they can get together, teams can get together and talk about projects and challenges and overcoming them, best practices and using ASVS. But is there a team behind the project that people can reach out to, I guess is really the question.
So we're lucky to have a great team of co-leaders, myself and LR as well. It's two of the key co-leaders are here. Jim Manico is also a co-leader on the project and had a lot of input into both previous versions and also this version as well. And also Daniel Cuthbert, who's been a leader on the ASVS for a long time. He's also provided a lot of input, especially around cryptography, which is sort of one of his specialist interests at the moment. Right. And then beyond that, we've got the working group, a group of people we got together to try and sort of more formally encourage other people to be involved in ASVS, and some other major contributors. And when I pulled off a report recently of how many people have sort of commented or contributed information or ideas or suggestions to ASVS, it was a list of about 200, probably more people who've had some input over the last few years to bring 5.0 to where it is. So
very cool.
There's definitely a community around ASVS. We're trying to grow that community. Last year at the conference at Lisbon, we had the first sort of ASVS community morning, which was fantastic to get a group of people together to specifically talk about ASVS. Right. We didn't do that this time around because we got the release, so we wanted to focus on getting the release out and having the release talk. But we're definitely trying to increase the community around ASVS, and we're certainly interested in hearing from people who want to be more involved or have questions or have ideas of what they can build on top of it as well.
Yeah. Nice one. Well, Josh, I appreciate you doing all the work, first off.
I definitely do not do all the work.
Well, doing all that you do.
Do the work that I do, the work that LR does, the work that the community do. But,
of course, but certainly co-leading and bringing it to life. And so I appreciate that. I want people to recognize it. You do that out of the goodness of your heart, along with all the other volunteers. So it's an important thing to note. You've been involved with OWASP. I'm asking folks this question. When I say OWASP, and I want to address the audience here. When I say OWASP, what does it conjure up? What does it mean to you?
So for me, OWASP is community. I think it's the group of people, it's a network of people who are sort of seeing similar challenges and trying to solve similar problems, sort of getting together, share resources, share ideas, give back to the community, and generally improve the state of software security. So I think the community aspect is really important. I think we have these fantastic events, we have chapter events, we have all sorts of opportunities to get people together. I know they've started up a virtual chapter now for people who don't live near a local chapter, so they can also be involved in OWASP activities. And I think it's a fantastic community, and I'm looking forward to see it continue to grow, not just in security, but also in developer spaces as well. Yeah,
fantastic. Josh Grossman.
Thanks very much.
Amazing, thank you.
Great chatting to you.
Thanks everybody for listening, watching. Become an OWASP member, contribute to the projects, use them to actually build safer, more secure apps. And stay tuned, more coming from OWASP AppSec Global here in Barcelona.